it's not so much about how many hours we have available to spend. It's really how we invest those hours. That is, it is not about being time rich as our answer for happiness. It's about making the time we spend rich. And so instead of quitting my job, I redirected my research agenda to try to figure this out. How should we invest our hours to make our time feel rich? How can we spend our time so that at the end of the day or the end of the week, we are looking back, and even if busy, that instead of feeling depleted and overly stressed and unhappy, we feel fulfilled. And that's what I've been doing my research on. Sadly for us academics, I also came to the realization that, like, unless we're going up for promotion, where some of our colleagues, not many, will read our papers, and like nobody knows these insights. And so it's like, okay, I want to pull these learnings together, both from my own research as well as that of my colleagues in the field. And I developed a course that I've been teaching to our MBAs and executive MBAs at UCLA for the last 4 years, applying the science of happiness to life design. And it's been so fulfilling to see how impactful these empirically based insights are for individuals to apply to make their days feel happier and to sort of design careers and our lives so that it feels more satisfaction, so we can ultimately look back without regret. And so when I saw the impact of the course, when I was approached to write a book, I was like, yes, because these learnings can help people. So the book is basically pulling the research and the course together. So the assignments I give my students, I lay out as exercises so that readers can apply the insights immediately and experience the benefits. And also I will say that it is not academic, like dry academic paper type read. I worked hard to I shared stories to make these learnings feel resonant and relevant. And I will share a couple of the exercises with you guys today. But before I do, I want to share an analogy that I share in the book and that I actually use myself to touch back to when I'm thinking about my own time spending decisions. And this is an analogy that's really sort of nicely presented in a short film that I share in the first day of my class. And in the film, a professor walks into his classroom, and on the desk, the front of the room, he puts a large clear jar. And then from a bag he has on the side, he pulls out golf balls and he pours the golf balls into the jar such that they reach the very top. And he asks the students, is the jar full? And the students nod their head because it looks full. It's like, nope. From the bag, he pulls out a bunch of pebbles and he pours the pebbles into the jar. And those pebbles sort of fill the spaces between the golf balls up to the top. And he asks the students again, is the jar full? And the students nod their head. It's like, nope. From the bag, he pulls out sand and he pours the sand into the jar, and the sand fills the spaces between the golf balls, between the pebbles, up to the top, and he asks, is the jar full? And by this point, the students are like laughing. They're like, yeah, the jar looks full. But there was one more step, and from the bag, he pulled out 2 bottles of beer. He opens one, he pours it into the jar, and then he takes the other, opens it, and then he sort of walks to the front of the desk and he perches himself there and takes a sip. And he explains, this jar is the time of your life. Those golf balls are all those things that really matter to you. Your relationships with your family, your friendships, the work that you do that's aligned with your purpose. The pebbles are those other things in your life that matter, your job, your house. The sand is everything else. The sand is all of that stuff that fills your time without you even noticing. And what's really important to recognize is that had he put the sand into the jar first, all of the golf balls wouldn't have fit. And that goes to show that if we let our time get filled with that stuff, it will get filled, but we won't have time to spend on those things that really matter to us. And then one of the students was like, "Professor, what's the deal with the beer?" And he was like, "So glad you asked." The beer goes to show that no matter how busy your schedule, how full your time, you always have time for a drink with a friend, which also is something important to recognize, the importance of those relationships.